but that wasn't a place to sit. And we'll talk about that a little later on in more detail. And the reason for that was because before Christ came, the priest's job was never done. All that atonement, even on the one special day when the high priest could go into the holiest of holies with blood sacrifice, he was only able to roll back the sins or to cover the sins for a season of the people. But Jesus, what he did was he himself had purged our sins, and he said on the cross, "It is finished," paid in full. No more sacrifice needed. And then he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high. Now God told Moses exactly how he wanted the tabernacle to be built, and he also told him where he wanted the furniture placed. I mentioned earlier he was the interior decorator as well as the architect for this. So he told him, it's no coincidence then when you look at it that you see a picture of the cross. And those of you who have the, everybody have that now? Oh, cool. Then it's going to be like about 4 in. It's going to look like this. Okay. So what you're going to see is the first thing in it's diagram 4, the position of the furniture. You're going to see that's the brazen altar, and we will talk about that in great detail. The next thing in is the laver that the priests would wash their hands and feet, made by the looking glasses of the women, interestingly enough. And then just before you go into the holy place, there was this altar of incense made of gold. Off to the left was the what they call the lampstand, and off to the right was the table of showbread. And then inside the veil, if you look at the top, there's that big thick mark. Those thick marks, that's the veil. And inside that was the, actually it's probably the base of the Ark of the Covenant. But inside that was the Ark of the Covenant, which made the head of the cross. And that was where God met with and talked with the high priest on that one day that he could go in there. And we'll go into that in greater detail. So it's no coincidence then that it's the shape of a cross, because everything points us in the Old Testament to the cross of Christ. In the New Testament, everything points us back to the cross of Christ. Okay, so we see the cross there in the tabernacle of the wilderness, and at the foot of the cross, where we saw the altar, was a place of burnt offering. That's where burnt offerings were made. It was a place of suffering, a place of death. And throughout his ministry, Jesus was pointing his disciples to the foot of the cross. He spoke often to them about his own impending death, and he tried to prepare them for the fact that it was going to be necessary for him to die. The very message of salvation is all about Jesus going to the cross and willingly laying down his life for us. There was no other way. He prayed in Matthew 26, "Oh, my Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless," he said, "not as I will, but as you will." In some renditions, they're not my will, but yours be done. Now, Satan knew that it was necessary for Christ to die, to pay in full the penalty of our sin. He tried to thwart the whole salvation process by trying to convince Jesus that it wasn't necessary for him to die on the cross. He suggested to Jesus that there might be another way. Now, Peter did that as well. And at that time, Jesus says, "Get you behind me, Satan," because what he was saying was, man, you sound just like Satan. He tried that same con on me, you know. And so in Matthew chapter 4, verses 8 through 10, we read that the devil took Jesus up on an exceeding high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, "All these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship me." But of course, Jesus said to him in verse 10, "Away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him alone shall you serve." And then the time that Peter did it is found in Matthew 16. And Jesus was showing his disciples that, hey, it's important. I got to go to Jerusalem. I'm going to suffer many things from the elders, from the chief priests and the scribes. I'm going to be killed. I'm going to be raised on the third day. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. He's the one who was famous for saying,